Hello, my name is Aaron Cartwright, your host of the Bellville Podcast, and welcome to BVP once again. And today I am here with...
I am Miss Brandi Bechdol.
Rowe.
So, what are we doing here? What do we have to talk about today? We got a lot of stuff to talk over attendance. I looked over that just a little bit. So, I'm just going to dive right into it because we got a lot to cover.
Okay.
Can we explain how attendance makes up hours and affects one another this year?
Make up hours?
Oh, this is actually, I think this is very important to say. This is the first BVP podcast with visual posters and everything. Yay. This is a big one for us.
Okay.
So,
here we go.
What am I looking at here for the makeup hours? So semester 1 and 2, what would be the biggest point of this that you would want to take away from this?
Okay. So per semester, you're allowed a number of absences for that semester. So for the first semester, you're allowed 4, and that's for fall. And when we roll into spring, you're allowed 5. So once you go over that number of allowed absences per class, then we start going into makeup hours. And so what that means is it's just all decided on Mr. Holloman and what he wants you to do to make up those hours. At 12 and over, you're denied credit. So we're trying to educate everybody that,
don't do that.
Yeah, be in school, as much as you can. And we understand that there's certain circumstances where, you're sick and you're hovering over a toilet, or something like that. And there's, or somebody has a surgery. But
and just to understand, this is a state law thing. This is not like a Bellville ISD and we're coming down hard. It's a state law. It's a 90% rule, and everything we do pretty much runs on the basis of the 90% rule, which is you have to be there 90% of the time to receive the credit. So that's what it's based on.
And not only that, this isn't a new state rule either. This was something that has been put in effect before COVID ever happened. It's just now starting to become put in effect again.
Correct. This part has always been, even when we had COVID. When we get to the exemption policy part, that's where it's changed a little bit.
Yeah. Exemption policy is kind of like a reward where if you're here and have that certain grade, then you can exempt those classes.
You have the opportunity to not have to take that final for the fact that you have been there such a present amount of time that you have.
The 90% rule.
The 90% rule, that's been in effect since I first been here.
Yes, yeah, yes.
And I think it's really important to touch over the 4 absences and 5 absences compared to the first and second semester. The 4 absences, it's 4 days into the first semester, but do those carry over to the second semester, or once you hit second semester, you start back at day 1?
Right.
Fresh start.
Okay.
So if you blow it first semester, then you're still good to, you don't want to ever get to this 12 mark because then
that's makeup.
You can't even,
you're denied credit.
Like basically like you have failed the class. You don't get the credit for it.
Okay. I think I'm very glad I went over that a second time. Can you talk about how the administration policy works?
The exemption?
Exemption.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Okay. The exemption policy is basically a reward system. So we're trying to reward you for your grades, and we're trying to reward you for being at school. And so what we do is we say if you have an A with 3 absences in a class, and this is always per class, don't think of anything per day in high school, it's all per class. So if you have an A and you have 3 absences, you're good to exempt that class. A B with 2 absences and a C, you can have just the 1 absence, and you can still exempt. The key here, though, is to know first semester, it's different for the different grades. So if you're a senior that first semester, you're going to be allowed to exempt 4 finals as long as you are falling within the system created. Juniors 4, sophomores and freshmen, you get to do 2. Second semester is a little different. If you have and you've qualified for it, seniors can do 8, juniors 8, sophomores and freshmen bump up to 4. But it's important to know that you cannot exempt anything that is EOC tested.
Like your math.
Your English 1, your English 2, your Algebra 1, your history. Those things that we do the end of course exams on cannot be exempted on your sheet.
As Ms. Balke described it to me, the classes you need to graduate for that year, you have your core classes, then you have what she calls the core classes, which are, for example, for seniors, it's your government class and your English class. You absolutely need to pass those for your diploma.
Yes.
So this is exactly what this is right here, showing the different exemptions that you can take during semester 1 and 2 for each grade, exactly how it is. Is this going to change at all next year that we know of, or is this going to be here for a while?
Not that we know of. And it's been this way for some time, so for a few years. So
okay, perfect.
Yeah.
That's definitely something important that I think, not even if you're not a student, you should know just to help your students as well sometimes, because let's be honest, there's quite a few clueless kids walking around these hallways.
Yeah, we've had a couple come into the office and they're like, wait, I need a doctor's note. And,
They're a little behind.
Yeah, that's why we wanted to do this, because they were a little confused on whether or not they can still bring in their doctor notes.
So I think this is a perfect segue to just what you're talking about. There's been some confusion about doctor notes and how they accept them in the attendant's office and doctor's office, at a nurse's office from the doctor. Can we clear up anything about that, the confusion, the frustration between not only students, parents, and teachers?
It's very confusing and it is very frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great word.
So back to that state law is if you're there for a certain portion of your day and you either sign in or sign out, thought we had a visual here. Where you either sign in or sign out, but you're there for some part of the day. Then if you bring me in a doctor's note, then that becomes medically excused, and it just basically wipes out that absence. Yes.
For example, this is today, and say you signed out, so it will appear to be an unexcused absence. If you signed out during second period and third period, it'll look unexcused and say you came back. So it's going to look like you were here, that's blank, unexcused, here for flex and here for fourth. But when you bring that doctor's note in, those U's disappear and they become M's because you were here for part of the day. But that doctor's note has to reflect this date to get this code.
So you have to turn the doctor's note in same day to be able to...
No.
It just has to correlate to the day?
Yes.
To the day.
Yes.
Yeah.
We prefer it to be in within 5 days because that helps us with our records and everything else. Yeah.
And then if you're gone the entire day, then that gets coded as a 5. And it's just basically an excused absent. It doesn't medically clear it. Some doctor's notes we'll see where they did sign out, they were sick, went to the doctor that day, but then they were sick again the next day and didn't come. So you will have a medical coding that first day that you were there and you signed out. And then the day that you didn't come, you will have a 5. And the 5s do count against you when it comes to the makeup hours and exemptions.
Yeah, so it would look like first, second, third, flex, and fourth would all be you if you were sick and you weren't there. If you had a surgery, if you had COVID, whatever. So it's going to be used all the way across the board is what we're going to see. You bring that doctor's note in, since you weren't there at all, they become 5s. The reason it's 5s and not an E is because we want to know when we look at it, oh, that was a doctor saying, so-and-so has strep, they don't need to come, or so-and-so had the flu, they can come back on Thursday. We will know that was a doctor's note for our attendance committee to know that.
So to put frankly, the 5 shows a difference between that you came back and you just came back and you came back and you have a doctor's note and a proof of like pretty much a sheet that shows I was gone because I didn't feel good and I'm coming back to prove that I'm still able to make it, but I'm still not feeling well.
Correct.
So let's say if there was something a little more diverse of a problem, like maybe an athletic injury, like a torn ACL, where you could still be at school, but there will be some days where you'll have to be gone because there's some days when you hurt yourself, you just can't get out of bed from the immense pain you feel, maybe even an infection or something like that. How would those affect you if you were mismatched days and you had to get multiple doctor's notes? Would those affect in a different way, or would those still work under the same 5 rule?
So we're hoping that if that happens, then you are going to follow up with your doctor and find out what's going on, especially if you had some sort of injury to where you started having more pain or infection or something like that. And then, again, the goal is to get that medical note.
But yeah, that's the frustrating part of this whole thing is if you have a surgery. My son had a knee surgery.
Yeah.
He had to take his finals because he missed days that he just couldn't be there, physically. And does it stink? Yeah, it stinks. But did he do anything wrong? No. But it's just unfortunately when you miss that whole day, state says you're not there.
Yeah.
And it's not taken off.
Because it puts simply, the people who really are running this system right there, they aren't you. They aren't even close to any of you. They are somebody that's looking behind a screen just to see the ones and zeros, the missings and the attendings and stuff like that.
Yes.
I probably shouldn't even bring her up since she's behind stage, but one of our behind crews, Emma, actually, she had appendicitis before school started. When that hit, she had to miss a whole week or two of school before even coming in. We didn't even know she was showing up. But because of that, that 2 weeks, she has stuff she has to make up. She has missing excuses, even though she's not only clarified by a doctor, but surgeons and actual full medical hospital that says this person couldn't have left or else they would have been in critical injury situation. It's the tricky situations you get put in. And I think the really big thing why it's become such a hazardous thing and such almost a toxic environment becoming around is because it's frustrating when you're sick, hurt, or anything like that, and you feel like you're being told you're at fault for it. Because in reality, you're not.
And that's why we have the attendance review, board, or so that way we have those instances if something were horrible like that. Yeah. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
I heard about it, and I was like, "What? I don't even know what it means." Because I had no idea what, the whole system was. It was just like, oh, yeah, you might have to, fail finals. It's like, okay.
Yeah. I think it's like you were saying, you feel like you've done something wrong, and why should you be punished because you're really sick? We often get the question, so send my kid to school sick? No, I mean, that's a parent's decision if a kid comes to school or not, obviously, but basically, I think there's so much placed on the finals, and nobody wants to take them. And I think you have to look at it at the end of the day. If something horrible like that happens, or a knee injury, or whatever, you're just taking a test.
Yeah,
it's a pain, but you just go take it.
Once you're done, you're done.
You're done.
Even if you don't pass. Here's the thing: a lot of finals, when you're actually injured at, let's say during summer, and you fail a final, but you weren't able to come make it up. I have seen before kids who are injured are able to retake those finals to certain tests, either come during the school year during a private time, or just straight up a teacher will send it to them or give them a certain amount of time to get that done in a time window to get done at home.
Yes. And our teachers are so great. They're so great about helping and working through those things. And we've seen teachers come up, be on their own time and, working with students, and it's just communication.
Yeah.
It's something you don't get. I come from a big city like Houston and Austin, where I went from, hey, this is the head of Texas, to where am I?
Yeah.
So that was the major lap that they had in Houston. It was a big city. There was bigger profits. It was a lot of stuff, but there was less, trust in each other. There was a lot less,
small town
community. Just kind of that trust everyone has in each other, that teamwork ability that they've been given, that they just kind of don't have. Everybody in Houston's a little more mistrusting. So because of that, coming to Bellville and seeing how everybody, especially during all the hurricanes, I wasn't here for the last hurricane, and I was terrified texting my parents. I was in New Jersey. I was like, is everybody okay? Is the dogs okay? Are they inside? Are you guys inside?
Yeah.
Are you gone? What's happening?
Yes.
And they texted me. It wasn't only our neighbors showed up. There was a few teachers. I believe Miss Lishka checked in on my family because has before, whenever COVID came by, she would drive by and drop off those little food packages that was going on. And it's just a really caring community of people.
It is. In communication. And I think a big thing is to not think that all of this is anything that we're not trying to hurt you or
do against you.
We're just following the rules because we have to sign oaths that we're doing the right thing, and that's pretty major in my world.
Yeah, like a lot of people I think forget, we obviously have bosses. Our bosses are called teachers, principals, and everybody else that works here. But you guys just have bosses too.
Yes.
You work here just as much as we do. The only difference is you're paid actual paper money, not education.
Yes. Yeah.
So we've been there.
You
Yeah, we've been where you are.
I've noticed that. I'm not used to that. Like I said, I'm from Houston, and everybody being like, I went to high school here. I'm like, you're still here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so weird because you never, ever see that in a big city. Somebody, like, it's very few. I think I only ever in Houston had one principal that, like, went there when he was, like, really little, but he never even stayed there. He was like, I moved away 2 years later.
Yeah.
But you don't see, it's a very tightly bonded place like here, like a ball of rubber bands. You can't exactly just get one undone. You got to get a few out if you want one.
Yeah.
So I don't get stuck on the same thing because I could sit here and yap with you guys all day.
Yes.
I'm going to go down to another question. What are other codes that do not count against you for attendance?
This is a great one.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So
These are the good ones. These would get check mark. If you have these, and even if you're gone all day, it's like it's erased.
except for the doctor, don't. The medical coded.
Yeah.
That's the one where you have to sign in,
Yeah.
sign out, make sure you're there for some part of the day. Other ones that you're allowed that do not count against you, exemptions, makeup hours. The V is a college visit. So you're allowed 2 per junior and 2 per senior year. You do have to have a form that's in the office and get it signed by one of our administrators for the day that you're going to be leaving. And then you bring that to us and then we file it. And once you go to that college, you bring us back a letterhead or something stating that you were there that day.
And I just want to say that is not only just college visit. Like if you are
Technical school, beauty school.
yes, things like that. If that's what you're going for the day for, bring it.
Just any schooling after high school.
Yes.
Yeah. Other one is 7. That's a DMV. So you're allowed 1 per permit and 1 per license. So you'll get a piece of paper before you get your license or your permit, and you bring that into me and I scan it, and you're cleared all day long.
I mean, I would love for you to come on back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Just in case, because, the DMVs can take a long time.
Yes.
They can, and that's frustrating. B is court.
Yeah, and that's just if if you've gotten yourself into some trouble or say you got a ticket and you have to show up, as long as you have something from the court.
And they will give you a note.
And just family troubles as well. Sometimes,
Absolutely.
sometimes unpredictable stuff happens in life, and you just got to be there to make sure everything goes okay.
Yes.
Right. 6 is your pursuit of military enlistment. We do have a few of those that go and sign their papers, and they bring that into me. X is a lot of extracurricular stuff. AG, so FFA, they go throughout the fall and into the spring. Athletics, volleyball,
All of it.
all of the above.
BVP. BVP.
Yeah. Band, cheer, drill, UIL, science Olympiads,
Just all those kind of things.
all of them.
Anything that can go from after school, before school, just anything extra.
Anything school
During
related.
school. During school, school related. Like tomorrow, there's a huge pep rally that they're doing at the school, at the OBP.
And robotics has been doing a lot of stuff.
Robotics is another one.
Yeah.
Yes. The drone club, any kind of
Yes,
like
but-
that if they're competing. Yeah.
Right. Co-curricular. So this is mostly like PALS things. If you have a PALS class that you go to the OBP for, and say you go on a field trip, then you would get that co-curricular.
So that's under Miss Cole, correct?
Miss Cole and
Christy Jacob?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So new teacher, Miss Christy Jacob. She does PALS.
Okay.
And then 4 is a close family funeral. This is a hard subject just because I have to ask for something that shows that day.
Personal
Yes.
memorabilia.
Unfortunately, it's hard.
Yeah. It's not a fun thing to ask for that when somebody's coming and saying, I'm going to my grandmother's funeral. And then
Yeah.
you go into business mode and say, okay, I need this, this, and this.
But we want to cover you.
But we're just helping.
Yeah.
Well, I was just about to say that actually touches really close to me because I'm an older baby in life. I'm obviously going to be here for a lot more funerals than I should be. But at the same time, having something like that is extremely helpful for someone like me, which like I was talking about earlier, stuff happens in life. You cannot help that. You are not in control when you're born, where you're born, what happens, where someone is, and when that goes down. But what you can be in control of is how you handle that and how you get counted absent or unabsent for that, and how you, well, like I said, handle it.
Yeah. So for those, you're allowed 2 days. So if you have to travel out of town, you have those 2 days.
And have those been added with the Texas school law trying to return back from how it was during COVID?
They just every once in a while will add new things, like the DMV code. That's only come along in the last 3 years, because when I first started doing attendance, that was not a thing.
Yeah,
and then I think they said, okay, kids have to go get permits and they have to go get licenses, so we need to help them out here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, since we're continuing down the line, might as well start hitting on to our next note. What is something that is important to know as far as attendance is concerned about?
Help yourselves. Sign in, sign out. Yeah, that's the most important thing. That's your paper trail. It's not because we're trying to be, you better sign in, you better sign out. It's to protect you. It's letting us know where you were. It's proof. I got here at this time. I was not absent this class, because mistakes happen. Teachers are human. We're human. Accidents and wrong coding sometimes goes down, and it's okay. We can get it fixed as long as we.
And
got
it
the
helps
proof.
so much when we know that you're there and we're not counting you absent or you can fight for yourself and say, nope, you see me right here. I signed in.
Even if it's a messy signature, it's still something there.
Yes.
I would prefer
Oh,
that
wow.
not.
Wow. Yeah, some of them are really bad.
I was about to bring up, I'm sure kids have this problem because I've seen it before. Write down your full name. Write down your first and last name.
You are not Beyonce.
Print it. Print it.
You've got to have a first and last.
You're not one syllable.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So advocate for yourself. Check your student portal. See where you see those absences and go to your teacher. Come to me. Come to Miss Rowe and say, hey, I was here this day. Can you please look into this? Anything that you can do to help yourself, because, that's what we're all trying to do, is just help you guys.
And that's really important, because I feel like students only see the portal as a means to see grades quickly, not a way to see your attendance more often.
It's huge.
It's huge. It's a digital link to something that you would normally have to ask a teacher for.
Yes.
And the 90% rule.
Understand the 90% rule being 90% of the time the class is offered, you have to be there, but also 90% of the time of the class. If you miss more than 10 minutes, you're going to be counted absent, even if attendance was already taken. Yeah.
That's another thing I feel like kids kind of think of. They're like, oh, attendance has already been called, so I've been counted for this class. But the difference is whenever a kid gets called out or anything, that teacher immediately has to Gmail the front office and let them know.
Yes.
And that's also why her parents have to sign us out at the same time.
Yes.
So now that we've touched up on all the papers on that you guys brought for the attendance, I would like to go over some stuff that I feel like doesn't get touched on nearly as much, which is the security and safety of the front office. Obviously, we have many great police officers helping us inside the school that's always patrolling not only inside but outside, including here at the Learning Center as well. But what kind of precautions do you guys have to go through at Bellville High School? There's so many people that come in and out, from adults to children to whatever. What's the main either concern or number one thing you're looking for to let somebody in or to keep them out?
It's a revolving door.
I think the concern is the amount of traffic in and out. So we do have a responsibility to look and see and pay attention and
be aware.
Yes, be aware. And we count on you guys for that too. If you're seeing something, you got to let us know.
Say something. It's plastered all over the walls.
Yeah. So, we have the what's the word I'm looking for? Ding, ding, ding.
The doorbell.
The doorbells. We have those, in the front. We have them in the back. We have the one that keeps anybody that would try to get in. Somebody might sneak in that very front door, but hopefully we would see them and they would not be able to get in this one.
I don't want to cut you off there, but that's why it's really important that students stay in the classrooms, because, you just never know. And, sometimes that back doorbell just goes, or, your anything can slip past, when you have a group of kids sitting there waiting.
Yeah, it's just a big responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
It's not taken lightly, but it gets busy.
yeah, most students don't think about it because they rather just be walking around, farting around out of class, just trying to just
Yes,
sit
that
around.
freedom is that need for freedom.
Yeah,
is
that-
still, but
They don't understand.
and once again, we're not against you. We're for you, and it's just a protective measure for sure.
Like it's the same reason why you go down every major hallway, why there's a giant thick steel gate there that's willing and ready to pull down at any time, because even if there's safety precautions that have been breached within the high school, there's still these extra measurements. There's still these drills we go through. There's still these plans that you talk to your teacher from that classroom, how you could or what you should do during a shooting,
You feel informed, like the way that we do things.
I feel informed personally. I feel more informed than I did at Houston, and that could be a mixture of the difference between HISD and BHISD, and also it being a lot smaller and a lot, I guess, closely bounded people with the church, to where it feels a little more like kind of like a hive mind, where if something goes down, it feels like it would travel a lot better through people than just kind of being cooped up in one person. I've always felt very safe and ready for something like that, because every teacher I've ever had has always told me, like, listen, this is our plan. If this happens, this is where we go. Like, for example, recently we had a shooter's drill, and I was in Coach Koshin's class during that in forensic science, and he immediately after it was done, he talked to us. He said, if we ever have an actual in this not drill and it actually happens, we are right by a door. If we cannot find a way to escape from out the school, we will go into the chemical room. We will go to the chemical storage room in the back, and that's where we will keep ourselves safe until we get any sort of sign anything has changed or gotten better for us. And it's not only him, it's even previous art teacher, Ms. Smith. She says, I don't care what we have to do. We'll break the windows with chairs if we have to. I'm not letting a room full of children get hurt. Every teacher there has a sense of pride and duty to keep their students they have. Even if, let's be honest, there's going to be years where there's going to be teachers, they don't really like a few students, but that doesn't change the fact they're children and they have a lot of growing to do.
Yeah,
And there's nobody that wants to see that life taken away from them, snipped away so early.
correct.
And that's why I think it's so important that we bring up these subjects, why we talk about the safety of our school, why we talk about the precautions we have to go through to where, I don't have it on right now, very bad representative, but our ID cards, if you're a visitor, make sure you have that visitor card, put it somewhere very visible that they can see you, make yourself well known to the people around you. So if there's ever somebody that's not supposed to be there, they stand out more. Yes. It's a mixture of just keep aware of your surroundings and keep aware of not only yours, but the people around you, because you don't know when that surrounding is going to change.
Yes, I think sometimes young people like to buck rules, and I get it, but they're just there for protection.
They were put there for a reason.
Yes.
Rules weren't put there unless there was a reason that they needed
Trying to make anybody miserable.
Nobody. Everybody's just trying to get through their day. Everybody's just trying to keep someone smiling. Yes. That's all this is. But I think the best way to wrap this up is to ask you guys one good personal question, which is, how do you feel about Bellville High School this year? Are you excited?
I love Bellville High School.
Well, I'm new to Bellville High School, so
That's why I wanted to ask.
really excited.
Yeah, we have. We have great programs. One thing I love is like this. I mean, seeing you guys find your niche and going and watching. I mean, I'm in the sports world all the time, so I see these kids and I love them, and I've been doing that for years. But seeing kids that are doing theater and how talented we have, so many talented kids. It is the neatest thing to see people find their niche and fit in and find friends and do something different that's, fun and
something that
gives you a belonging.
Something that says me.
Learning everything about yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just love our teachers and our administration, and we really do love each other, and we love the kids in the school. So
one of the most, I think one of the most memorable things from the podcast I ever heard was from actually Mr. Tarek, which was when he was here with the lady that we missed so much that came before you.
yes, we love her and her, Miss Taylor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But when we had them two here, because which better combo to put together?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I could imagine.
They go back and forth all the time.
Yeah.
It was hard keeping it PG in this room. But one of the biggest things he told me, I asked him, what made you stay so long? Because he talked a lot. He was a student at one point. He didn't want to be here. Just like every other student in high school, they talk about they can't wait to get out of here and do literally anything else but high school. But the reason he came back, he always said, it wasn't just a town. Bellville's real pretty, but the people are pretty too. The people have a certain kindness and light about them that they're willing to share with you if they can. And that kind of stuck with me because I'm a city boy. You come from a place like that, you see the bitterness a little more. You see people's kind of like ugly side. So when you come somewhere here where someone's willing to go that extra step just to make sure your help, like, for example, my big example I have for this year, I was really late on a paper in Ms. Ballkey's. We were both absent that day, and we both didn't know that I didn't have that paper for whatever reason. So instead of her failing me by literally 1 point, she told me, listen, I will give you an extra day. We both messed up this time. We both overslept in our own way, even though we were meant to be here, but we couldn't be. So I'm going to give you that extra day. We're going to keep this going. We're going to keep this year going strong. We're not going to let one small little thing stop. Can't say the same about Houston teacher.
No.
It's that little step of kindness. Yeah. It's that little step of kindness that can travel years in somebody's life. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for clearing up so much that needed to be cleared up in our school.
Thanks.
I'm Aaron Cartwright, the host of Bellville Podcast. Thank you for joining us. This was BVP.